Hello, and welcome to this edition of Secure Networks, the Endace Packet Forensic Files, with your host, Michael Morris. This week's special guest is Kate Kuehn, longtime board advisor for multiple companies and current senior vice president for vArmour. Kate, welcome. Thank you for coming. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Hey, Michael, great to be here. A little bit about my background is I have been in security for a very long time. Some would call me a dinosaur, 20 plus years. And it is my absolute life passion. I've been lucky enough to work in sales, engineering, partner management, pretty much operations, advising, and it's just a passion of mine to be involved in every part of security.
Yeah, no, I'm really, really pleased to have you as a guest this week because you've been a executive level at various companies and security roles, as you said, for over 10 years now. What are you seeing some of the biggest changes and challenges that CISOs and SecOps teams are facing right now?
You know, it's interesting, and I think the easy answer would be that it's, COVID. And the reality is that, COVID and the aftermath of the proliferation of work from home, and as we try and understand the longevity the pandemic is going to be from an impact perspective in security, is causing a fundamental shift in our marketplace. So, easy answer is COVID. The harder answer is if you think about the need for rapid digital transformation and expansion of architecture, and this idea that there really is no more border, it's how do you cope with the hybrid environments that have become the standard across a lot of enterprises as they look to shift. So, I think it's right now understanding how do you do more with less? How do you create a more stable architecture as there's been such a shift in workforce and how we're communicating with each other? And how do you secure what were considered temporary fixes into more long-term architecture decisions?
No, I totally agree. What are you seeing people to do to really address some of those issues, though? What are they adopting or changing?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. So we're seeing a few kind of very different shifts than we expected. I mean, first, everyone thought with COVID that there'd be a major slowdown in technology spending. And what we're finding in security is that, while people still have budgets, there's actually a rapid kind of almost horse race to adoption. We're seeing it in three areas. One, we're seeing it in understanding and rapid adoption of cloud services. So how can companies really, adapt quickly to a cloud and a SaaS strategy because it's easier to manage from a remote workforce. It's easier to look from a scalability perspective. The second area we're seeing a lot of focus in is around something that's near and dear to Endace's heart. So looking at packet capture and how do you get visibility within the environment. So how do you understand what's actually going on within the environment? What we're seeing is this idea that static security, event-based security that was the norm up until relatively short time ago doesn't address the needs of the dynamic marketplace we're seeing today. So visibility and dynamicism is where we're seeing a lot of spend. How do you get complete understanding of who is talking to who, what is happening, and how do you make that correlate into a security story for a company and a posture?
Yeah, no, we've definitely seen that from our perspective. What do you see people still missing?
What are they missing? Well, they're missing a lot of things. I mean, first of all, from a missing perspective, it's a little bit about education. So I used to say it's great that we educate the board, but we don't educate the janitor. And we're finding with work from home that the education of how you set up your Wi-Fi networks, what devices are connected to your environment, the visibility again, and how you are able to capture that traffic that's now transversing into that bleed between public-private is an area that a lot of companies are missing. The kids' Wi-Fi network is on the same, channel that your corporate enterprise is. And what does that mean? Other area that we're seeing a lot of companies kind of look at how do they work and missing is, again, from a visibility standpoint, thinking about not only packet capture, but packet reaction. And what I mean by that is, there's the idea of inter and intra cloud. What is happening when you get into the network is something we know very well. We all understand zero trust when you exit the network, but what's actually happening in the middle? And
Right.
how do we get a better understanding of the impact of that from a cost consolidation standpoint, a security posture standpoint, and really a replacement of that static versus dynamic that I was talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've known you for a couple of years now. We usually see each other at various security shows, and we're continuing to see an exponential growth of security solutions, new security solutions. And it's often hard for CISOs and SecOps teams to sort through all the features and functions of these new solutions. The marketing is very similar in a lot of ways. In your mind, what are the must-have everyone needs to start with? And then where do they build and expand from there?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. You and I have known each other, like you said, a long time, and it used to drive me crazy that, every year at RSA, we'd have 600 new solutions, and it was buy my box and you'll be safe from everything. And everybody's got a tagline. And now it's all about, COVID means this and zero trust means that. And I think, if we're going to have new t-shirts of "We survived X," I think, in the coming year as we think of new solutions that come to the marketplace. Something I'm really passionate about is the idea of ecosystems. So as companies and CISOs start looking at what the next solution is and what they should be investing in, they should be asking the question about, how do you operate from a platform perspective with my existing architecture?
Mm-hmm.
So, I've always been very proud of Endace having a very robust ecosystem from a partner perspective and being able to really showcase that interoperability, which is something that CISOs should be leveraging more and more of. At vArmour as well, that idea of being agentless and being able to come into an architecture and enhance what's already there. I think CISOs should really stand up and say, I will not put a new tool in. I will only put in things that have the ability to demonstrate and show value across a wide area of my estate as it stands today.
Yeah.
That's, I think, something that we can all take away from this is a time for ecosystem and collaboration. And the more companies, security companies specifically, can showcase their ability to create technology ecosystems, cloud partnerships, being able to be flexible from an on-prem and a hybrid, perspective, and to have a meaningful result in a dynamic way with multiple partners is going to be critical for enterprises as budgets dry up and we come into the beginning of what we're calling COVID 2.0.
Right. So, I mean, you talk with customers daily, probably. In talking with those many customers, what are you seeing as some of the biggest gaps that they still have in those security strategies? So, I mean, you hit on things that you highly recommend, but what are their blind spots right now?
Yeah, I mean, so first blind spot is there's not enough wine. We have a wine shortage going on. I can't stress it enough that, CISO wine, you got to have them. It's one of
Looks like you're in the vineyard there anyway.
Yeah, it's my wish. I want to be traveling again. But no, what do they need? Couple of things. There is a huge need for visibility. And so, network recording, understanding what's happening, things that Endace provides and things that, other companies provide to give a clear picture of what's happening is something that's a huge necessity. If you're trying to accelerate a cloud adoption strategy, understanding application relationship management. If you're trying to take your security architecture from being static and understanding, where those borders are to a very dynamic environment, you have to think about the old types of tools, whether you're thinking about GRCs, whether you're thinking about SIEMs. How do you create a recorded environment to understand where the fingerprints are? And how do you then take that and make it dynamic in nature with much less care and feeding? And I think there's a lot missing there. You want to hang on to legacy, but we can't at this point, given the nature of how enterprises are dealing with, the new normal, as it's called. I hate that term today.
Right.
The other area that I see that there needs to be a lot of focus on is identity. How does identity become the new perimeter? And again, if you think about how you have to record through a network, how you have to understand those fingerprints across, how you have to understand that I can talk to you, I can't talk to you, I have access to this application, I don't hear. This one has a sub 3 criticality and has to be up in 30 minutes. This one is dependent, though, on a sub 2 that has to be up in 2 hours. What is the actual traffic going between them? Those are the areas where we have to spend more on, because the interdependencies in the ecosystems of companies that we're finding is much more robust than I think was ever anticipated.
One of the things I always like to ask my industry experts that we have on this show
I don't know if
is,
I'm an industry expert. I'm not sure you want to use
well,
that.
besides your advice on the wine for CISOs, what's the one thing you recommend for our listeners to really look out for or think about over the next 6 to 18 months? In this ever shifting battle for cyber and network security, what should
I
they be
think
paying attention to?
I think they should be paying attention to taking a look introspectively and thinking about, is their foundation, is their architecture built on more of a static environment? Is it dynamic enough to continue to change and keep pace with the needs that is happening? Because we could be turned up again in our heads in another 6 months. We don't
Yeah,
know how long this is going to last. So creation of dynamic, understanding a flexible model, understanding how you can really see and get granular with your traffic. The question is, how do you create that Google Earth view? And not only that Google Earth view, but understanding which houses on your street are brown, which ones have red doors, that your neighbors are the Petersons and that they don't pay their taxes. How do you get to that level of granularity in your environment?
right,
Because that's what's going to be necessary in this brave new world.
right.
We've never seen a blend of public and private architecture the way we're dealing with at this moment.
Yeah.
So understanding your packets, being able to record what's happening in environment, being able to understand from an application perspective, visibility, and really being able to not have those blind spots. That was really the CISO and the CIO's dirty little secret that we honestly didn't really know what we had. It was always the bad thing. And
No,
great how we did. But now that's becoming really, really critical.
no, I love that analogy. It makes perfect sense. Kate, thank you for taking a little time out of your schedule and joining and sharing your insights into the mind of a CISO and some of the challenges for SecOps. We ask our listeners to tune in next time for another edition of the Endace Packet Forensic Files. For more information about Endace's network packet capture platform and our integration with our Fusion technology partners, please go to endace.com. Again, Kate, thank you for joining and have a great day.
Thanks for having me. Have a great day, everybody. Cheers.